change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Who's there?
Imagination. Turn up your mind.
I will tell you this. When Rudy made the statements, Rudy's great, but Rudy had just started, and he wasn't totally familiar with everything. And Rudy, we love Rudy. He's a special guy. What he really understands is that this is a witch hunt. He understands that probably better than anybody. Excuse me. But Rudy understands this better than anybody. But when he made certain statements, he just started yesterday. So
what?
That's it. So the bottom line is, I want to talk to the people in charge if they can prove that it's a fair situation.
I got to tell you, this is really this is the most amazing. Rudy Giuliani obviously is a bloodsucker. He's a vampire. He's Nosferatu. This is what I've told you. And it seems like when he went on that Fox News, Rudy didn't tell the legal team who is Emmett Flood now. That's the team. There's one guy, a new guy, and the guy is like an impeachment guy. That's Emmett Flood's lane. That's his niche. That's what Emmett Flood's good at, apparently, is impeachment. And so they went out there, and Rudy Giuliani, being, somebody that you can count on to suck blood from dead corpses, worse than an ambulance chaser, which is what Michael Cohen is, serves up Michael Cohen on a platter, serves up his own client on a platter, and tells everybody, oh, yeah, Donald Trump paid back Michael. Just because Rudy is so accustomed to being a brag, he's just a braggart. Read Comey's book. This is why he went after Comey the way he did in the first part of that interview, which, in a weird way, I have to agree with Sean Hannity. Last night, Sean Hannity did say, the media had only taken that one portion of the interview where Rudy Giuliani says, oh, no, Michael Cohen got paid back because, that signifies law-breaking felonies. I always thought that, if you violated the Federal Election Commission's rules about fundraising and stuff like this, that you'd get like a fine, a civil fine. For some reason, I thought, no, it's a felony. Found out, it's a felony. It's an actual felony to do what Donald Trump did do that Rudy Giuliani said he did do, because Rudy Giuliani was floating a trial balloon, and Rudy Giuliani wanted to see how it would play in the media and with the legal team, who is Emmett Flood. And sandbagged poor Sarah. Sarah, I got to say, Sarah, nobody can make me feel sorry for Sarah Huckabee. Not Michelle Wolf, not anybody, really. And I don't really feel bad for her, but I will say over the past couple of days, this woman has burned through enough facts she could launch her own line of Smoky Eye Cosmetics, okay? Her own line. I could do the demonstration. I'm a fan. You see, I got the smoky. She's a terrible press secretary, but she's brilliant at doing her job, which is basically not to be a press secretary. But I am telling you, she really needs to resign and say, I'm sick of being sandbagged. I'm sick of the president not telling me what his strategy is, sending me out. Because she's supposed to verify facts before she speaks on the taxpayer dime from the presidential podium at the White House. That is what the press secretary does. She's supposed to gather all the facts and give them to the press. She doesn't do that. So I'm saying, redeem yourself, save your own soul. Go talk to your pastor father. Confess to him. Tell him I've been lying. I've been a bad girl. And now I want to parlay my notoriety as a White House press secretary, which very few, except for Sean Spicer, have. This kind of celebrity status because he lied so hard. It was the biggest inaugural crowd ever witnessed, period, right? She needs to go, and I'm thinking of cosmetics. I mean, they lend themselves beautifully to what Sarah Sanders is. Because, what's this over here, ladies? What is this white down here? This is concealer. She's very good at that. And all she needs to do is get a palette. And the white base that you put over the whole eye before you start coloring, we'll call that white lies. Then the gray that goes in the crease, we'll call that gray areas. And then the smoky black, we'll call that burnt facts. Thank you. I will market you. Jesus Christ. Just once, I want to be in the White House press briefing. Just once, because I just want to ask one question. Just one. Just one. See, and if I were Mueller, I'd only have one question. But if I were in the press room, just once, I would say, "Hi, Sarah. Nice to meet you. One question. Do you really believe all this crap? Do you? How in the world could you pretend that you didn't know what was going on with Stormy Daniels? How could you pretend? What, you have no television set? You know, you don't. I mean, this is just amazing. She said, we give the very best information that we have at the time, which sounds a lot like all I can do is forward you the lie he told me. No, there's more that you can do. It's just unbelievable. I mean, you kind of want to give her a break because she's in charge of disinformation. Do you know what I mean? Misinformation, disinformation, it's up to you to decide which one it is. But today they're all saying, last night they were saying, Sarah, mark this down on your calendar, May 3rd. That's the day that you lost your credibility. That's the day that you lost the entire press corps. That's the day that, everyone will remember as being the day that you can't pay any attention to anything that Sarah Sanders says, right?
Circle May 3rd on your calendar, because this is the day that we will look back on in this briefing where Sarah Sanders made it so painfully clear that she has lost credibility with the American people, with the reporters in that room. She completely would sidestep and say that she could only give the best information she has. She was acknowledging to Jim Acosta's questioning that she came out and provided incorrect information. Well, when the spokesperson for the President of the United States of America comes to that podium and provides incorrect, false, bad information, they have no credibility to continue with that job. I'm not suggesting she's on her way out. I'm sure Sarah Sanders will stay there because she's pleasing an audience of one. But she has acknowledged that she can only go out there with information the best available. If the best available is false, bad, and untrue information, she's failing at her job. And I think we saw that time and again in this press briefing today. And I think it will go down as the real time that Sarah Sanders really has lost her credibility with
the American people and the press corps, is what he said. I have to tell you, I mean, it's all of them, the whole administration, every last one of them. Kellyanne Kanye, that's her new last name. Kellyanne Kanye, she says, as campaign manager, she didn't know about the payment either. What, you don't have television sets? I can't understand. Do they live in a fact-free bubble? I really can't understand how they would get away with saying this with a straight face. I don't understand how they could pretend that they don't know that the president is lying to them. And of course, if you know that, and there is no way not to know that, if you read the Washington Post, he's surpassed 3,000 lies. If you understand he hired Rudy Giuliani, let me tell you something. Rudy Giuliani has always been a liar. Okay, Rudy Giuliani has lied about talking to active FBI agents. Rudy Giuliani said that Hillary Clinton wasn't downtown Manhattan on 9/11, that she never showed up down there, even though people presented him with photographic evidence that Hillary Clinton was down there. She was in Battery Park. She was down by the World Trade Center site moments after 9/11. I mean, the dust was still there. It was a war zone, and she was there. So, I mean, you present this man with photographic evidence, and he still tells the lie. And then he went out and he said George W. Bush kept the United States safe after 9/11. He said that the hostages. Now, how Rudy Giuliani has I don't know if he has balls. I know he had some cancer down there. I know he did. I don't know what's left. I don't want to inspect. I don't even want to know the answer. Not that interested. But he had the balls to say that hostages were coming back from North Korea. How would he know that? He doesn't have a security clearance. Neither does Jay Sekulow. Think about that. The president's legal team, the remaining people on the legal team. Jay Sekulow, who is, there's a war on Christmas attorney. That's what his lane is. That's what his niche is. That's what his area is. He doesn't have a security clearance. Rudy Giuliani doesn't have a security clearance. Emmett Flood, he just got signed up. I don't think he's yet got a security. No one in this legal team. How could they know sensitive information? Either they're breaching, security. It's kind of a Rob Porter situation, a Jared Kushner situation, temporary security clearances, pending a background. I have no earthly idea. But he's lying about Comey. He lied about hostages. He lied about George Bush kept us safe. He lied about Hillary Clinton being at 9/11, not being at 9/11. He lied about talking to active FBI agents. Why does anybody interview this vampire? Why does anybody listen to him? You see, this is what is so amazing, that the president is at the bottom of the barrel for legal representation. And the reason why is because he sends a guy out to make claims in the face of hard evidence, meaning Michael Avenatti has evidence of extensive conversations between Michael Cohen and the previous attorney, Keith Davidson, who I told you that man was in a lot of trouble. Stormy Daniels' first attorney, and there was a lot of, recommending Michael Cohen. Clients. Michael Cohen would hear of somebody coming after Donald Trump, and then he would call Keith Davidson and say, "Hey, you represent her. The deal's already done, and blah blah blah. And we'll get her to sign this, and it'll be done." And so now Keith Davidson is cooperating in the investigation about the payments to Cohen. But Michael Avenatti, he's got all the documents. And if Michael Avenatti has it, that means that it's been filed in court, and that means the other side has access to it. So this is all one giant lie.
There were extensive communications between Michael Cohen and Keith Davidson in October of 2016 relating to the timing of this payment and the need for the payment to be made prior to the election. Extensive communications relating to the need for the payment to be made, when it was made, and as it related to potential influence on the election, period.
So they know what they're saying is a lie. Donald Trump knows what he's saying is a lie. Everyone knows he's lying. The Wall Street Journal today knows he's lying. The Washington freaking Examiner is asking him to resign today. Not me. The rightest of the right wing, Laura Ingraham, is saying on her show, I guess she sobered up for a few minutes after she saw this crazy thing on the TV there, that, this is a problem for the president. This is a huge problem for the president. Everyone around this president is dirty. Every single last one of them. And now we're at the bottom of the barrel of the dirty. Now we're scraping. We got the brine at the bottom of the pickle barrel. That's where we're at right now. Trump better hope that Rudy never gets his facts straight, because the straight up facts will get Trump impeached.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
I would say this. If I could I would love to speak. I would love to. Nobody wants to speak more than me. In fact, against my lawyers, because most lawyers, they never speak on anything. I would love to speak, because we've done nothing wrong. There was no collusion with the Russians. There was nothing. There was no obstruction, Very funny. If you fight back because you people say something wrong, or they something wrong, or they leak, which they've been doing, if you fight back, they say, "Oh, that's obstruction of justice." Somebody says something wrong, you fight back, they say that's obstruction of justice. It's nonsense. Okay, so let me just, wait, let me just tell you. So I would love to speak. I would love to go. Nothing I want to do more, because we did nothing wrong. We ran a great campaign. We won easily. We won that easily. 306 to, I think it was 223. We won it easily. That was a great victory. That was a great day for this country. We just had new job numbers out. You saw we broke 3.9%. I would love to go. I would love to speak, but I have to find that we're going to be treated fairly. Wait. I have to find that we're going to be treated fairly, because everybody sees it now, And it is a pure witch hunt. Right now, it's a pure witch hunt. Why don't we have Republicans looking also? Why aren't we having Republican people doing what all these Democrats are doing? It is a very unfair thing. If I thought it was fair, I would override my lawyers.
You know, there's something wrong with him. I have to tell you. It's just unbelievable. In the face of the facts that his son had a meeting at Trump Tower with a Russian informant to get dirt on Hillary Clinton, in the face of the fact that Michael Cohen has been accused of going to Prague to pay off the hackers, in the face of the facts that Rudy Giuliani sat on Lars Larson's radio show and said that he was speaking to active FBI agents and that he knew that an October surprise was coming, that even the pollsters would see the difference in the polling. It was going to change the entire trajectory of the campaign like minutes before we went to vote. In fact, some people had already voted, but it was going to change the campaign on October 26th. He's telling Lars Larson that he speaks to active FBI agents who are telling him in the New York field office that they've got a plot. They got a plan. In the face of all of these facts, in the face of all this.
The other rumor that I get is there's a kind of revolution going on inside the FBI about the original conclusion being completely unjustified and almost a slap in the face of the FBI's integrity. And I know that from former agents. I know that even from a few active agents who obviously don't want to identify themselves.
So this has been boiling up in the FBI since generic. I did nothing to get it out. I had no role in it. Did I hear about it? You're darn right I heard about it. And I can't even repeat the language that I heard.
I just want to make sure we're getting that right. We listened to the audio, and you were talking about current FBI agents, at least in that radio interview with Lars Larson.
Well, the information I've been getting is from former FBI agents.
So you misspoke to Lars Larson?
If I did say that, that was wrong. I have not spoken to a on-duty FBI agent about anything, I guess, for the last 10 months. I don't know. I've actually never talked about this investigation to any current member of the Justice Department or current FBI agent. I don't know if I can make it any clearer than that. You can look at my telephone records if you want.
I know that from former agents. I know that even from a few active agents who obviously don't want to identify themselves.
No, I'm out of time. Otherwise, I keep pressing you. I'm out of time. Otherwise, I keep pressing you.
They are looking at his phone records. Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General. I know Comey opened up an investigation into Rudy Giuliani. He told that to Senator Patrick Leahy, that is what he did. And this is why Rudy Giuliani hates Comey so much. And he lied yesterday. He said that the president fired Comey because Comey wouldn't clear him. Well, if that's the truth, that Comey wouldn't, that he fired him because Comey wouldn't clear him, that's obstruction too, because Comey had just started a counterintelligence investigation and couldn't clear the president because the investigation had just started. The Hillary investigation had just ended. The Trump investigation had just begun. Comey couldn't give Trump any guarantees. And if Trump was insisting that Comey's employment was dependent upon Comey going out there under oath and testifying that Trump was not under investigation, knowing that if anything changed, which it has, then he would have to go back to Congress and correct the record. And Comey wasn't about to do that. That would be obstruction in and of itself, demanding. And by the way, I have to tell you that the letter that Donald Trump first wrote, the first letter when Donald Trump was firing Comey, I bet you everybody forgot about this. Jason Miller, that racist piece of do, he was sitting in the Oval Office when Trump was going off on May 8th. Okay, it's almost a year ago. In a couple days, it'll be a year. May 9th is the day Comey was fired. Well, May 8th, Donald Trump was sitting in the Oval Office and he was just ranting. And Jason Miller was told to take down his words and put it in a letter. And this is why he was firing Comey. And he said it was the Russia thing, and he said he won't clear me, and he said that, this whole thing, he told me 3 times I wasn't under investigation, and I wanted him to clear me, and he won't go out there in public and do it. and all these crazy things. And Jason Miller wrote it down. And when Comey wouldn't, give him a pledge of loyalty, which is also obstruction of the entire system of justice, the entire rule of law would be upended if the FBI director took an oath of loyalty to the president, not the Constitution. It would be some other country. It wouldn't be America. It wouldn't be, the thing that makes America, the envy of the world is that we're a nation of laws, not men. And this, he wanted an oath. He wanted, a mob oath. He wanted an oath of omerta. He wanted a loyalty oath and all that. And he dictated this letter to Jason Miller. And Pence was in that meeting, okay? Pence was there. A lot of people that, this is why I keep saying to you, Pence lied too. Pence lied too. And he's part of this. He is. He's part of this because Pence was in that meeting, okay? Reince Priebus was in that meeting. And this was after a weekend at Bedminster where Ivanka was there and Jared was there. And this president was just literally fuming over Comey's appearance on Capitol Hill. I think that was May 6th. And then the weekend came, they went to Bedminster because it was too warm to be in Mar-a-Lago for them. The season here is over. So they went to New Jersey to their, golf club there. And Jared's there and Ivanka's there. And I mean, the whole group is there. And he's ranting and he's raving. He goes to the Oval, goes back to work. And Jason Miller writes this letter. And the letter is so incriminating, and it clearly shows the president is trying to obstruct justice. But Jason Miller loves it. He loves it. He's defending himself, and he writes it down. Mueller has that draft. Mueller has that. And Rudy Giuliani, he actually says this is that he wanted Comey to tell Congress he wasn't a target, and he wouldn't do it, and that's why he fired him. That's obstruction too.
Here's what it's all about. It's real simple. And American people can follow this along with me. Are they objective? Are they? Well, right now, a lot of things point in the direction of they made up their mind that Comey's telling the truth and not the president. When you look at those questions about what does the president think, what does the president feel, what does the president really desire, those are all questions intended to trap him in some way in contradicting what is, in fact, a very, very solid explanation of what happened. He fired Comey because Comey would not, among other things, say that he wasn't a target of the investigation. He's entitled to that. Hillary Clinton got that. And he couldn't get that.
Because Hillary Clinton was investigated from stem to stern. And in fact, when James Comey got new information, got a new computer, Anthony Weiner's computer, after the FBI in New York sat on it for 30 days and then just handed it over to him on 11 days before the election, they said, here, you go through this because we see metadata. And we haven't done anything really forensically, but we do see that there are emails from Hillary Clinton on there. Good luck with that, right? Well, Rudy Giuliani knows that. He knows that, and he knew that. And he knew that in advance. That's number one. Number two, when he sits there and he says that Comey should have cleared him for a brand new, recently opened counterintelligence investigation into meddling in our elections by a foreign adversary, namely Russia, he couldn't do that because that investigation had just started. And when and Mueller has the draft letter where, and by the way, here's another little factoid. A short time after Donald Trump asked Comey to, exonerate him in public, right, to when he went to testify, he says, when you go to testify in front of Congress, I want you to say that I'm not under investigation. I want you to say I'm innocent, okay? When Comey said no, he couldn't do that because the investigation just opened, he then went to two other top intelligence officials. Do you remember this? He went to Mike Rogers, who was the national security advisor. He was the head of the NSA, the National Security Agency. He went to Mike Rogers. Mike Rogers has since, left. Mike Rogers isn't there anymore. But he went to Mike Rogers and asked Mike Rogers if he would publicly confirm what Comey would not. And Mike Rogers said, I can't do that, sir. And then he went to Dan Coates, who's the director of national intelligence. You remember Dan Coates? He's just a congressman who suddenly made it all the way up there, right? So he went to Dan Coates, and Dan Coates said, I can't do that either. They both said no. They refused the request. They both said it would be inappropriate. That is the comment. Well, Mike Rogers, before he left, he testified. And, he was questioned 8 ways to Sunday about whether or not this was a good thing to do. And what do we tell the American people, that Donald Trump refuses to sanction Russia for this?
What message does it send to Vladimir Putin that the United States has not fully implemented sanctions to counter known Russian cyber attacks?
More broadly, not just the sanctions, but
this is Mike Rogers.
My concern is, I believe that President Putin has clearly come to the conclusion there's little price to play here.
Bingo.
And that therefore I can continue this activity.
Yes.
Everything, both as a director of NSA and what I see in the Cyber Command side, leads me to believe that if we don't change the dynamic here, this is going to continue. And 2016 won't be viewed as something isolated. This is something will be sustained over time.
You would need basically to be directed by the president through the Secretary of Defense.
Yes, sir. In fact, I mentioned that in my statement.
Have you been directed to do so, given the strategic threat that faces the United States and the significant consequences you recognize already?
No, I have not. But if I could flesh this out, I'll say something in an open unclassified. I'd be glad to go into more details in a classified. Based on the authority that I have as a commander, I have directed the National Mission Force to begin some specific work. I'd rather not publicly go into that, using the authorities that I retain as a commander in this mission space.
So you need the direct authority of the president through the Secretary of Defense
to do some specific things.
Specific authority.
There are some things I have the authority, and I am acting within that authority now, not waiting.
But we have not taken on the Russians yet. We're watching them intrude in our elections, spread misinformation, become more sophisticated, try to achieve strategic objectives that you have recognized, and we're just essentially sitting back and waiting.
I don't know if I would characterize it as we're sitting back and waiting, but I will say it's probably, and again, I apologize, I don't want to get into the classified here. It's probably fair to say that we have not opted to engage in some of the same behaviors that we are seeing.
He's gone. So if he started, his cyber command down the road of, protect, he's gone. He's not there anymore. He went bye-bye. This is insanity. This is actually espionage, and now we're looking at sedition, and nobody has authorized, the NSA, the DNI, nobody's authorized Cyber Command to take actions, or, there's no sanctions on, everything's been postponed. He threatens, nobody's been tougher on, I bet Ronald Reagan's rolling in his grave every time, Trump says nobody's been tougher on Russia than I. I mean, this is just crazy. This is insanity. This is bizarro world. This is like, a president who, lies because he's an agent of another country. He's not. He doesn't care about the American people. Rudy Giuliani obviously couldn't give a rat's ass. By the way, Rudy Giuliani was one of the most racist mayors in the history of New York's mayoralty, okay? He was the one with stop and frisk and just, shaking down people for no damn good reason, and shooting 41 times at guys with wallets, not guns. And I mean, this man is a vampire. He's an anathema. He's poison to the American rule of law. He's a liar. He's made nothing out of his life. He's a hanger-on. He has no relevance to our American life, except he keeps inserting himself into Donald Trump's campaign and Donald Trump's legal team to go on TV and lie. I think he told the truth. I think by accident he told the truth. I think Michael Cohen was repaid because Michael, and I think there were discussions right around October 16th. It was right after the Access Hollywood tape came out. They had an affair. Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump had an affair 10 years before that.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. If they're objective, we can work something out. If they're not, then we have to shake hands and basically go into a litigation over, do they have the power to subpoena? And I think they lost that power. This is a completely tainted investigation.
Explain.
Well, you have an investigation in which Mueller is selected the day after he's turned down for FBI director.
Oh, please.
By Rosenstein, who was there when Mueller was turned down. There are thousands of people that could have been selected for that job.
Can I just interrupt you, lion sack of crap? I think the president of the United States picked Rod Rosenstein. Yeah, I do. And I think Rod Rosenstein, who was selected by the president of the United States, chose Bob Mueller. All right, then.
Also a friend of James Comey. And James Comey seems to be their core of their investigation. He's telling the truth. The president isn't. I know James Comey. I know the president. Sorry, Jim, you're a liar. A disgraceful liar. Every FBI agent in America has his head down because of you.
That is just so freaking disgusting. I can't. There are no words. And you know why Rudy Giuliani is trying to discredit Comey in this way? Not because it's the core of Mueller's investigation. It isn't. It's personal. It's between the brothers, Kay. Because in Comey's book, which I have right here, in Comey's book on page 19, it says there was something. This is Comey. There was something of an unwritten code about working in the office of Rudy Giuliani. And I suppose there is in most organizations. In this case, the message was that Rudy was the star at the top of the successes of the office, and they all flowed in his direction. If you violated this code, you did so at your peril. Giuliani had extraordinary confidence, and as a young prosecutor, I found his brash style exciting, which was part of what drew me to his office. I loved that it was my boss on a magazine cover, standing on the courthouse steps with his hand on his hips, as if he ruled the world. It fired me up. Oh my God, this is like right out of Goodfellas, I have to say. I mean, most women would have run away when their boyfriend handed them a gun. I found it exciting. I gotta tell the truth. It was a turn on. Prosecutors almost never saw the great man in person, so I was especially pumped when he stopped by my office early in my career, shortly after I'd been assigned to an investigation that touched a prominent New York figure who had dressed in shiny tracksuits and sported a Nobel-sized medallion around his neck. The state of New York was investigating Al Sharpton for alleged embezzlement from his charity, and I was assigned to see if there was a federal angle to the case. I had never, ever seen Rudy on my floor, and now he was at my very door. And I was, he wanted me to know he was personally following the investigation and knew I would do a good job. My heart thumped with anxiety and excitement as he gave me this pep talk standing in the doorway. He was counting on me. He turned to leave, then stopped and said, "Oh, I want the fucking medal," and then walked away. But we never were able to make a federal case. The state authorities charged Sharpton, and he was acquitted after trial. The medal stayed with its owner. It took me a while to realize that Giuliani's confidence was not leavened with a whole lot of humility. The cost of that imbalance was that there was very little oxygen left for others. An early clue was my first press conference. I had worked with the FBI to bust a criminal ring that was stealing SUVs from Manhattan parking garages and loading them on shipping containers in the Bronx. The containers were then hustled onto ships bound for Africa or the Caribbean, where the cars were resold. This gives me chills. And I got to say, if somebody would publish my book, you'll know exactly why. The investigation, led by Special Agent Mary Ellen Beekman, who had been a Roman Catholic nun, before joining the Bureau, had penetrated the operation and was secretly photographing the loading. Mary Ellen's specialty was car theft rings and convincing hardened criminals to become government informants. And although she didn't approve of the foul language so common in law enforcement, I thought the cursing was just, it was just so unique to, she was an extraordinary interrogator. She had refrained from her prior career. She had retained from her prior career as a nun the ability to use guilt in powerful ways to make thugs melt. The thieves in this case were so efficient that cars were on their way out of the country before being reported stolen. It was a cool case, and the FBI and Giuliani decided to do a press conference. My supervisor told me I was to stand behind the podium while Giuliani and the New York Police Department commissioner and the head of the FBI's New York office spoke to the press. I was not, under any circumstances, to speak or move. He then repeated a line I had heard before, quote, "The most dangerous place in New York is between Rudy and a microphone." I stood frozen in the back, looking like an extra from a basketball movie who had wandered onto the wrong set. Though Giuliani's confidence was exciting, it fed an imperial style that severely narrowed the circle of people with whom he interacted, something I didn't realize was dangerous until much later. A leader needs truth, but an emperor does not. He constantly hears it from his underlings. Rudy's demeanor left a trail of resentment among dozens of federal judges in Manhattan, many of whom had worked in the U.S. Attorney's office. They thought he made the office about one person, himself, and used publicity about his cases as a way to foster his political ambitions rather than to do justice. It was a resentment that was still palpable when I became the chief federal prosecutor in Manhattan and sat in Giuliani's chair a dozen years later. That's why Giuliani hates Comey. That's why Giuliani is calling him a perverse liar.
Their core of their investigation. He's telling the truth. The president isn't. I know James Comey. I know the president. Sorry, Jim, you're a liar. A disgraceful liar. Every FBI agent in America has his head down because of you. It would have been good for God if God had kept you out of being head of the FBI.
Explain where he lied.
Well, he lied about his conversation with McCabe. He knew all of McCabe's conflicts. McCabe should testify against him. He lied about his conversations with the president. He only told the truth when the president said, we know Donald. I'm sorry, Mr. President. He was Donald before. He lied about the fact that they talked about whether the president was a subject or a target. Then he immediately changed it. It's one lie after another.
Comey did not lie. He just refused to say that the president was not under investigation. It never even came up. Nobody ever asked that question of James Comey on May 6th. Nobody ever even said, is the president under investigation? Is the president a target? Is the president a... It didn't come up. It didn't come up. Rudy Giuliani is a world heavyweight champion vampire. He is a liar. He's a publicity hound. He's an imperial emperor. He denigrates other people's work. He made enemies in New York in the judicial system. He wasn't ever about justice in his entire life. He was about Rudy Giuliani. Sound familiar? And the idea that he said, well, we know Donald, I mean, Mr. President, and we know that if you have to judge between Comey and Comey's honesty and the president, well, of course you have to believe the president. And then he admits on Fox and Friends the next morning that, of course, this was about paying her off for the election. Of course it was.
Why was the $130,000 payment given to Stephanie Clifford?
That's what they negotiated.
But why did the campaign, or why did the attorney pay her the money? What was she alleging?
Really?
Well, she was alleging, although there's the contrary letter that she signed, that it never happened, that there was a one-time affair.
10 years ago.
And I think when Cohen heard $130,000, he said, "My God, this is cheap. They come cheap. Let me get the thing signed up and signed off."
So, in other words, to make it go away rather than fight this allegation.
Well, don't you think a lot of these people would pay that when they can? I mean, I can't disclose. I represented clients who paid substantially more than that.
Does this happen a lot? Like he said in that tweet, when you're wealthy,
Well, first of all, if you're wealthy, you're a target. If you're wealthy, you're a target.
Really?
We had a case, very famous person. This woman was a professional. You could do a movie about it. She was a professional that would hit on rich guys, older ones, and then shake them down for a couple $1 million.
Right.
So you're saying that Stephanie Clifford made these allegations, told Donald Trump's lawyer, look, I'm going to go public.
And denied them, and then said it wasn't true. However, imagine if that came out on October 15th, 2016, in the middle of the last debate with Hillary Clinton.
So to make it go away, they made this
Cohen
payment.
didn't even ask. Cohen made it go away. He did his job.
He violated campaign finance laws is what he did. He violated the ethics of the bar, and he's going to lose his law license because of what Rudy Giuliani said. They are throwing, they decided yesterday to throw Michael Cohen under the bus. If Michael Cohen is anywhere out there, if Sam Nunberg is anywhere out there, if anybody that talks to these people is anywhere out there, you tell Michael Cohen he's going down. Rudy Giuliani just threw him under the proverbial bus there, okay? And right after he said, well, you can't believe Comey, you got to believe Trump because Trump is more honest than Comey. But Michael Cohen made it go away. He paid $130,000 on October 16th to make it go away during the election, which would be an in-kind contribution in the form of a loan to the President of the United States. Here are the rules. This is the FEC rule on loans. Quote, if any person, including a relative or friend of the candidate, gives or loans the candidate money for the purpose of influencing any election for federal office, the funds are not considered personal funds of the candidate, even if they are given to the candidate directly. Instead, the gift or loan is considered a contribution from the donor to the campaign, subject to the per election limit, which, by the way, is $2,700, and reportable by the campaign. This is true even if the candidate uses the funds for personal living expenses while campaigning. You know where I got this little rule from the Federal Election Commission? You know where I got it? I got it on the Twitter sphere. And guess who tweeted it out? Kellyanne Kanye's husband, George Kanye. Oh, yeah. George Kanye tweeted the link that addresses personal loans made to a candidate for federal office. They're throwing Michael Cohen out the door. And they want to dirty up Comey pretty good, too. Why? Because there's this letter, see? And because there's this Lester Holt interview, see? And because there's this meeting in the Oval Office on May 10th with Sergei Lavrov and Sergei Kislyak, without any Americans present, only the stenographer that works in the Oval Office, who writes down that the President of the United States pierced secret intelligence given to the United States by the Mossad, by Israeli intelligence, number one. And number two, tells the Russians, yeah, that Comey, he was a nut job. I had to fire him. I had to fire him to end this Russia thing. Boy, that's a load off of my back. Holy crap, man. Let me tell you something. Mueller knows everything I just said. Mueller knows all of it. And you know who knows that? Everyone who's testified to Mueller, everyone who's been for an interview with Mueller. What's his name? Caputo, Michael Caputo. He was the comms guy. He was the communications guy for the Trump campaign. He was just interviewed, and he said, "Oh, the House Intelligence Committee, they don't care. The Senate Intelligence Committee, they're fishing with a net. Mueller is spear fishing. It's pinpoint. He knows exactly what he's looking for, and he's got everything. He knows more about that campaign than the campaign ever did."
Magnificent mosaic that is radio. Change has come to America. Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Turn up your mind.
We got to have the president on tape on Air Force One saying he did not know about the payment.
And you'll have to ask Michael Cohen about that. Rudy just goes on with Hannity and says, oh, no, he reimbursed him. Like,
well,
what?
First of all, they may not have thought this whole thing through.
Well, I mean, if you go on Hannity, you better think it through as the attorney or the president. I don't think Emmett Flood would probably, that's why Emmett Flood's probably not going to do a lot of interviews. I love Rudy, but they better have an explanation for that. That's a problem.
You think? Yeah. You think, Laura? You think, Lala? You think so? Jesus. And then Neil Cavuto, he went on for 4 minutes.
Let me be clear, Mr. President. How can you drain the swamp if you're the one who keeps muddying the waters? You didn't know about that $130,000 payment to a porn star until you did. Said you knew nothing about how your former lawyer, Michael Cohen, handled this until acknowledging today you were the guy behind the retainer payment that took care of this. You insist that money from the campaign or campaign contributions played no role in this transaction. Of that, you're sure. Thing is, not even 24 hours ago, sir, you couldn't recall any of this. And you seem very sure. Now, I'm not saying you're a liar, you're president, you're busy. I'm just having a devil of a time figuring out which news is fake. Let's just say your own words on lots of stuff give me, shall I say, lots of pause. Like the time you said the Russians didn't interfere in the 2016 election until a lot of Republicans had to remind you they did. Came back months later and you said, well, I never said that Russia didn't meddle in the election when, in fact, you had a lot. Now, none of this makes me a never-Trumper, just always confused. Like when you claimed your tax plan was the biggest in U.S. history, when it wasn't, or that the bill you signed to make it all happen would cost you a fortune when it turns out it is going to help make you a bigger fortune. Really? Or that your job approval numbers really aren't that bad relative to other presidents at this stage, when they're actually worse than most presidents at this stage. That can change. But what's weird is this pattern does not. Like the time that you said rumors of Rex Tillerson's departure at the State Department were false until they weren't, or that your former chief of staff, Reince Priebus, wasn't going anywhere until he was, or your economic advisor, Gary Cohen, was doing a great job until he wasn't, when you absolutely loved Steve Bannon until you didn't, swore by Jeff Sessions until you started swearing at Jeff Sessions, had your legal team locked in place until it wasn't, denied reports you were ever thinking about firing Robert Mueller, even as you now threaten getting involved at the Justice Department. Now, none of this makes you evil, but I'm sure you can understand why even your friends say these inconsistencies don't make you look good or do anything to help advance your policies, many of which are very good, or the prospects for peace with North Korea. That is remarkably good. All this stuff you keep blurting out, remarkably bad and remarkably bad timing. It is not that these exaggerations and omissions and misstatements are now and then. More like now and then something else, always something else. Like the time you claimed you signed more bills than any president ever, neglecting to mention the other 4 presidents, FDR, Truman, Carter, and Clinton, who all signed more. Or brag about the national debt going down by $12 billion after your first month in office, even though it soared by nearly $1 trillion now that you're 15 months in office. Oh my God. But it's not what you are omitting, Mr. President. It is what you keep stating and never correcting. Like when you said there was a serious voter fraud in New Hampshire, and there wasn't. Said the same about repeated claims of voter fraud in Virginia, and there weren't. Or that millions of illegals voted in the last election, but they didn't. Or the time you talked up your massive landslide in the Electoral College, even though 3 out of 4 presidents before you had bigger electoral vote landslides in their elections. Again, none of this makes what you say fake. Just calling out the press for being so a bit of a stretch. You are right to say some of them are out to get you, but oftentimes they're using your own words to bash you. Your base probably might not care, but you should. I guess you've been too busy draining the swamp to ever stop and smell the stink you're creating. Oh. That's your doing. That's your stink. Mr. President, that's your swamp.
I can't understand the commentary that he inserts in between the debunk of what Donald Trump's alternate reality looks like. I don't know why he keeps saying that. Doesn't mean that the news is fake. It doesn't mean what you're saying is fake. It doesn't mean I'm a never Trump. It doesn't mean that you lie. It doesn't mean that you're evil. Yes, it does, Neil. And you're almost there. Almost there. Just lean in a little more. Lean in and let the facts of the lying wash over you. He just went through a long laundry list of, let's see, I wrote them down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Just 15 lies. That's it. That's all that was. 4 minutes for 15 lies. It takes forever. The Washington Post's like 27 pages. If you went to print it out, which I have done, and I said, I'm not doing it. Because, ink costs money. In fact, this whole show costs money. Thank you for supporting the show. Please, we need to have a good day today because the bills. Okay, I just want you to know we reached 3 million podcast downloads, which means the bandwidth that I'm paying for has just exponentially gone up. So we really, really need, especially those of you who can afford to support the show, to really dig deep today and support the show, because the bills are just insane. I mean, this is the problem with, having the show grow, is so do the bills, so does the cost, so does the bandwidth, so does the, giving away the videos for free and all the platforms. I mean, it all costs money. Sending out the homework, all costs money. But I'm trying my best to, do whatever it is that you asked me to do. All right. But okay, so it took 15. There was only 15 lies in that 4 minutes. If I were to sit here with the Washington Post, who cataloged 3,000 plus lies, 3,000 plus lies that this president told in just the last 15 months, we would need to increase the bandwidth by 5 times, because we'd have to keep the show on the air for like 4 hours a day instead of 2, and we would have to go through it like for 2 weeks nonstop. That's how long it would take. This is the sickest situation I have ever seen this country in, and the base, which translates in Arabic to Al Qaeda. Still, I mean, listen, I'm here in Florida. I work in a commerce park, right? I got these people, not next door. Next door are the nicest people in the world, but next door to them, there is a call center. I swear to God, the people that call you up and try and sell you bogus insurance on your expired, car warranties and all that's what they do all freaking day. And, God love them, half the kids that work in that place are from the rehab center right behind us. Because this is Florida. We are the drug capital and the rehab capital. We get you both ways. We're a revolving door of addiction, and then we try and cure you, and then we put you in the halfway house where you fall off the wagon again, and we get to charge your insurance again for another round of rehab. It's just a business down here. It's all it is. And those kids that work in that place, let me tell you, but the guys that run that room, the guys that run it, they're older. They're older, and they should know better. And they keep on saying crap to us because they see our T-shirts and stuff, right? And they know what we do. And they're always confronting us, always confronting. The other day, Scott was wearing a T-shirt that had, "I'm sorry for our president," in like 22 languages. Okay, that's English first, and then every language you could possibly imagine. Okay, and this idiot man that runs this place, he says, "What's on your T-shirt?" And he said, "It says, 'I'm sorry for our president.'" "Why are you sorry for him? What, you wanted Hillary?" Right? And that's and I said, "Absolutely." "Well, she would have given away this country." I said, "To who? The Russians?" "Well, I said, so what is he doing for you?" "Well, I don't know what he's doing." "Why don't you like him?" I said, "Because he's a world heavyweight champion liar. He's a cheat. He only talks about himself. He only cares about himself. Everything is about him. Every time he talks, it's about him. It's about him. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about our small business. It's not about, you. Well, I would never vote for her. I would never vote for her." And I was like, I was going to ask him, "Did you vote?" And then I just said, "You know what? I'm not in the mood to get shot during a break during the show," because we were outside during a break. I mean, this is who he's playing to, Al-Qaeda, the base. That's what you should call them from now on. Because that is simply the Arabic translation of the base. That is it. That is all that is. All right, Anthony in New York.
Hey, Randy. Very cool first-time caller.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm calling from Manhattan. First, you covered a lot since my original thoughts. But anyways, I want to talk about Giuliani. I was in New York during 9/11. Giuliani was the most hated. His career, he was on the outs, and because he showed his face before George Bush did during that whole blank time during 9/11, that's why he emerged as someone who was strong, only because he was the first guy to show up on camera.
Yeah.
And go, hey guys, here I am. Hey, this is bad. And whatever he said, and then he became, but that dude was so racist, and people in New York, and you know this as well. You spoke about this before, excuse me. He was disliked. 9/11 saved his butt. That's why he's always going 9/11, 9/11.
Yes, it's totally true.
Real.
But it's never enough for him. Okay, it's never enough that on the backs of 3,000 dead people, he became a celebrity. It still wasn't enough for him. He had to say, because he hates Hillary Clinton, because he lost to her. He had, the two of them, were running against each other for the Senate thing, and then I think he got prostate cancer, and so he says that's why he stopped running. But he hates her, and she showed up there because she was a senator from New York, and the idea that she was there, and the idea that she was getting, funds together from Congress, bills passed to pay for the rehab of New York City, just infuriated him because he wasn't able to do that because he was a mayor, and so he said she wasn't even there. Well, of course she was there. There's photographs of her there. There's photographs of her hugging people. There's photographs of her without a mask on her face before we understood that stuff, was causing mesothelioma, that it was full of asbestos and glass shards, and people that were inhaling it were going to die. So she was there. I mean, this is just, it's never enough for him. That's how big his ego, and that's how Donald Trump is, and that's why they bond. I mean, birds of a feather, they go on Fox News together.
This whole Hillary hating thing bugs me. It's almost like whenever you hear when they can't answer a question on Fox, or whenever they're interviewed, Huckabee saddlebags, they always
don't say that. That's wrong.
Sorry, my bad. I was listening to Stephanie Miller, but anyways, whenever
Stephanie, let me tell you something about Stephanie. Stephanie Miller weighs 90 pounds soaking wet. She has never wrestled. She has never wrestled with the diet thing. So,
My dad was saddlebags.
Yeah.
Sarah Huckabee.
Thank you.
I'll just call her a liar. I'll call her a liar.
She is a liar. That's true.
But the answer is always, but Hillary, and we talk about this every day, or we hear it every day, and it's like, is that their only answer? But
yes, sadly that is.
Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Did the president approve of the payment that was made in October of 2016 by his longtime lawyer and advisor, Michael Cohen?
Look, the president has addressed these directly and made very well clear that none of these allegations are true. This case has already been won in arbitration, and any.
Now, see right there, this is where people are starting to feel sorry for her, I have to say. If she's the press secretary for the United States of America, which she is, and she's going to stand at the podium and take taxpayer dollars as her salary, which she does, then she has an obligation to know that arbitration was not won in any way, shape, or form. She could pick up a phone and find out. And she also needs to know that the president has never addressed, ever, Stormy Daniels, ever. He has never, ever addressed it. How could she not know that? And people are starting to feel sorry for her. Sorry for her, I tell you, because she only found out about Rudy Giuliani on the TV. This is what she said yesterday. She said, they asked her, when did you find out about Stormy Daniels? And she said, I was watching the TV. I was watching the TV.
Could you explain why the president, when he spoke, when he answered questions to reporters a few weeks ago about the $130,000 payment for Michael Cohen to Stormy Daniels, why the president was not truthful with the American people and with the people in this room?
As Mayor Giuliani stated, and I'll refer you back to his comments, this was information that the president didn't know at the time, but eventually learned.
He didn't know at the time. All right, here's a man who stiffs his workers. Here's a man who pays workers in vodka. Here's a man who has, impersonated, a PR guy. He's been Barron. He's been, John. I forget he's got so many aliases, right? Here's a man who actually is friends with David Pecker, who prints fake news for a living, okay, in the National Enquirer, who sends a message to Michael Cohen the other day through the National Enquirer. Michael Cohen sleeps with the fishes, which is oh so mob. And she's standing there referring you back to... I mean, I just, here's when she found out about the payments, according to her, and this is what's making people feel bad for her.
When did you specifically know that the president repaid Mr. Cohen for the $130,000, you personally?
The first awareness I had was during the interview last night. Major.
She was watching the TV. Now, she's the press secretary. She is the person who would book Rudy Giuliani on Fox News. You see, she's the person who would do that. Her story is she didn't do that. Somebody else booked him. So like what? Rudy dialed up and said, Sean, I want to come on your show, is what we're, Mm-hmm. Yeah, this whole thing is a mess. But people are starting to feel sorry for her because she doesn't have a television set, see, except when, maybe she does, but it's only tuned to one channel. She's got 10,000 television sets all tuned to the same channel, is what she has. So she claims that the president has addressed the Stormy Daniels issue when he hasn't addressed the Stormy Daniels issue. And then she says she only found out about Rudy Giuliani on the TV, but she's never seen the president on the TV talking about Stormy Daniels because the president's never been on the TV talking about Stormy Daniels. So I don't know which it is with her. I don't feel sorry for her. She needs to resign because she cannot do her job, which is to check the facts before she puts them out there as being facts from the presidential podium and us writing her a check to do that. But I don't need to call her names. I want to be her cosmetic spokesperson. I want to be the one. Like I said, I want to go on the TV and just, the smoky eye kit. The white one would be white lies, the gray would be gray areas, and the black would be burnt facts, and I would show how you make the perfect smoky eye. Xavier in Los Angeles. May I help you? How may I direct your call? And have a good day. Perry in East New York.
How you doing, Randy?
Hey, Perry.
I'm driving 95 northbound, exit 24 out of New York City.
No.
Yes, I am. And I am. Finally got in touch with you. I'm glad I did.
You sound like you're laying down to me.
I'm trying to be low key. I don't want everybody in the conversation when I drive this coach. I'm working right now. Anyways, I'm a young father at the time Giuliani became mayor. Do you recall him running for mayor and he had the 10,000 cops go down to City Hall and protest against Dinkins?
David Dinkins, yeah.
Yeah, David Dinkins. This is the beginning of the whole nightmare with that stop and frisk fiasco. And I was one of the young guys who was stopped. Giuliani has it in for any young black male. That's why he had a hard-on for Sharpton.
And that's why you see a lot of these guys, like the guy that runs that call center and a couple other guys in there that are older, that are New Yorkers. Right. Okay, they are New Yorkers. Right. And their whole idea is obviously this. I liked when you could go in New York and you could yell at somebody and make sure that they understood they were less than you.
Right. Right. Now, I don't know if you remember Attorney Walter Madden. Now, remember the young kid that got killed out of Howard Beach? And it was the only kid that went to jail. Yeah, well, I come from that generation. And when Giuliani was a prosecutor, he was the worst prosecutor. Never mind his history. He didn't win any cases while he was on. He was terrible.
I just read you a little snippet of James Comey's book, and when James Comey first joined and Rudy was the prosecutor, what did he go after? What was his focus there for James Comey? What was the first thing they did? They went after Al Sharpton.
Right. Instead of the Italian mob at the time, they would go back
and they put Al Sharpton on trial, and Al Sharpton was acquitted. Remember? Yeah, but and he said, "I want that." Remember, this is when Sharpton was still wearing the tracksuits and before he lost all the weight. Okay, and what did Rudy Giuliani say to James Comey? I want that fucking medal.
Right.
That Al Sharpton used to wear.
Yeah. Right. Because the fact that he's like a bounty hunter, man. He wants heads on the wall.
But you know what he learned? He learned that just by accusing somebody, you could dirty up their reputation so bad that people still have doubts about whether Al Sharpton is committed to civil rights. I don't know why, but they do. They still say it. They still believe it. They still think that.
Right. But when I gave you a little story. I'm still a commercial driver of 29 years. Now, when I first got my CDL, I had drives a double-decker bus out of New York City. Had an experience with his motorcade when it came down to the Astoria Hotel. And it made me move a block and a half away from my clients when I pick it up in the hotel, bringing the Grand Central so they could do the hop-on, hop-off tour out of Port Authority. And the nastiness he gave to me when he saw me, I was in New York and say hello. He didn't give me the time of day. And from that point on, he had it. And then look at his marriage.
I can't really understand you.
He cheated on his wife.
Oh, I know.
While he was in office.
He announced his divorce from her on television.
Yes, he's just as bad as Trump.
Right, exactly. And Trump was like, when he got caught with Marla Maples, he said it was the best sex he ever had. In public, in the newspaper. These are disgusting pigs. These are hideous, hideous men. These are monsters. These are men that cause enormous heartbreak to anybody that crosses their path. They are dangerous. They are pigs. They are monsters. They are liars. And they don't care. They're old white men who are incapable of feeling shame. They're at the point in their life where they go, let's just cash in. Let's just cash out. 73 years old, Rudy Giuliani. 73. He's getting another divorce now. I mean, they are hideous people. They're vampires. They're bloodsuckers. Jennifer in Sacramento.
Hi, Randy. I have my own theory around Rudy Giuliani. I feel like he's this one-hit wonder with the 9/11.
Yeah, he is.
And all these years, his star has faded, and I think also his mind has faded, as we can see. And he's more reminding me of Nora Desmond from Sunset Boulevard, waiting for his damn close-up. Well, and I'm just waiting for the dead ape to roll in. The whole thing is a freaking show.
It's a shit show is what it is.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was my comment.
I refuse to say Rudy Giuliani has lost his mental faculties, and because that's like an excuse, and it also demeans mentally disabled, and Rudy Giuliani is just a lousy lawyer who rides on every good lawyer's coattails. He is the bottom of the barrel. He works for a giant, giant lobby shop. That's who he is. Everything he touches dies. Everything he touches turns to shit. Okay, the man is a liar. He's trying to, make James Comey, who agree with him, don't agree with him, understand what Loretta Lynch, tasked James Comey with doing because Bill Clinton compromised her, because Bill Clinton got on her airplane, because any announcement about Hillary's case being closed from her would have been incredible, uncredible, non-credible, however you want to phrase it. And so it fell to James Comey to announce the closing, and they extracted a promise from James Comey during testimony about Hillary Clinton that if any new information came down, would you report it? He swore under oath he would. The FBI in New York, under Rudy Giuliani and James Kallstrom's tutelage, decided to sit on Anthony Weiner's computer, hand it over to Comey 11 days before the election, and say, you swore you would open the investigation again if you had new information. Here's new information. That is how the fix got put in for that October surprise. That is Roger Stone, dirty tricks. That is the same disgusting crap that, what's his name, who died from a brain tumor, the dirty trickster of the dirty tricksters. This is their playbook. This is the Karl Rove playbook. This is the I always forget his name, but I shouldn't, because he's like the Goebbels of the Republican Party. You know who I'm talking about, right? Propaganda Meister. I mean, these people are so filthy. So filthy. Without this announcement from Comey, we'd be talking about President Clinton, and she'd be under investigation. Just want you to know that. That's where we would be.
No, that is absolutely correct. Because even if Hillary had won, we'd be still having the same damn circus with all of them pounding on her.
Yes, they would still be, looking for the emails. They would still be saying 30,000 missing emails, 30,000 missing emails. And, Trump would be out there, attacking her from the sidelines. You know what I mean? He wouldn't be announcing hostage negotiations, which, by the way, have probably screwed up any chance that these three guys had to get... I mean, these people they are vile. They are vile. But I will tell you this. Our national security would not be in jeopardy. Okay, and it is. It actually is. Here's the stories that nobody is talking about because of all this crap, because the president is so self-serving, and because the president is so unaware of the people in this country that rely on presidents and Congress to do something to make their lives more meaningful. China is building up their military arsenal. They are pointing lasers at our pilots. In Africa that are flying over Africa. They're targeting our pilots. They are building up their military right now. The entire Asian Pacific is getting ready for a war with America because of this idiot.
And because of this idiot sucking up all the air, I haven't heard any of this.
Yeah, no,
no other news except Trump is all I'm hearing.
Well, you know what? That's why the homework needs to go out every day, because in the homework today, there's 2 articles at the end under the meanwhile section, okay?
Okay.
But there are 2 articles about the buildup, the military buildup in the South China Sea, and how Eric Prince is a defense contractor with, contracts with the Chinese. And now he's yes.
Holy crap.
Oh, no, this is so inside baseball. This is so for the benefit of like a handful of people. Also, you know what the first story in the homework is? It's good news. It's good news. The good news story of the day is Cambridge Analytica no longer exists. Yeah.
Yay.
But the bad news is they started a new one under a different name with Alexander Nix, the same guy from Cambridge Analytica.
Wow, it's whack-a-mole.
It's whack-a-mole. Exactly. That's exactly it. It is. It's whack-a-mole. But thanks to Chris Wiley and his testimony to the British, we found out that Cambridge Analytica was up to their eyeballs in Brexit. Okay, they were up to their eyeballs in this white nationalism that swept Europe, and then they were up to their eyeballs in suppressing the vote here and supporting, creating chaos here and all this crap. So Chris Wiley, this one little kid. He's not such a little kid, but a guy in his mid-20s with a really big brain was able to bring down the Mercers. So at least I know it can be done.
Yes, with his pink hair.
Yeah. But people who tell the truth need to be supported. People who put this stuff out there, the facts and the real, state of play. The people who keep track of all the lies, the people that, collect all this videotape, the people that collect all these newspaper articles, we're the ones that need to be protected. Not the conspiracy theorists, okay? Not the Sean Hannitys. not the people who are getting HUD loans to buy low-income housing. And there's so much information in the homework, and half the time we don't even get to it. We just don't, because this man leaves no oxygen in the room. He just doesn't. There is no room to talk about SNAP. There is no room to talk about the fact that the Republicans are going to take away food stamps from rural Americans. The very same Trump voters they're about to get smacked in the mouth.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
You know what else you probably don't know is that Mike Pence's doctor, she's a woman, Dr. Pena. She just resigned over Ronnie Jackson. Okay, she just gave her resignation. That's unbelievable. And today they were in court. Manafort is trying to say that he can't be prosecuted because Mueller's prosecution of him is not under the directive. It's not part of his mandate. And the judge today asked a bunch of really tough questions, like, I want to see the full memo, that laid out his mandate in the first place. And, if I were a prosecutor, why would I refer a criminal investigation about Trump's personal attorney to the New York authorities and keep Manafort's case in Virginia? He was asking like all these, questions. And then he said, the American people don't want to see, an authority with unfettered power, talking about Mueller. And they're going to tell you that this judge is going to knock down Mueller, that this judge is going to... I'm telling you right now that this judge was saying these things so that Mueller's team could respond to them and get on the record as saying this is part of Mueller's mandate and here's why. And Manafort was doing business with Ukraine and Russia during the campaign, and he was the campaign manager. And so it is part of the mandate, and we have to, but judges typically ask these tough questions to get the answers to them on the record so that they are on stable ground when they rule that the Manafort case can go forward, which I suspect is going to be what this judge rules. So I just want you to know you're going to hear a whole lot of spin because the judge, his name is Ellis. He's a Reagan appointee, by the way, so he's like stinking old. But he hasn't ruled yet. And it was a tough hearing today. It was a very tough hearing. He actually said, he did make it a little political, a lot of political, I say. He said, you don't really care about Mr. Manafort's bank fraud. He said to the prosecutor, is a guy named Michael Dreeben, and Mr. Ellis apparently seemed to lose his temper. And that he then said to the prosecutors, you're interested in Manafort because of his potential to provide material that would lead to Trump's prosecution and impeachment. That's what you're really interested in. Now, I don't know if he's an unstable old man who, is going to go down as a Reagan guy and he's going to fight, or if he's just trying to get them on the record, defending their position, the prosecutors defending their position so that he can rely on it when he makes his ruling that, Manafort can be tried for bank fraud, money laundering. Robert in Phoenix.
Hi, Randy. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, are you yelling at your television as much as I am?
Oh, I'm furious. I cannot believe the amount of lying that went on this week. I mean, we started by knowing that the president dictated his own health letter to the American people and that his doctor had been robbed by thugs who went to his office and took his files, on behalf of Trump. I mean, this is where we start. And then we had Natalia Veselnitskaya say she was an informant. Seems like ages ago, right?
Oh, it's crazy. I told your screener that I said I have a universal question, no matter who you're talking to in this administration. Were you lying? Are you lying now or were you lying then?
Yeah, right.
Because that's the way it goes, And what amazes me is how many people that I come in contact with about what's going on and stuff, and I'm talking about it, but they just carrying on with their lives, and it's kind of scary, You wonder if there's going to be enough people out there to make a change,
Oh, I'm
there's
sure.
so many people walking around dense, just.
Well, there are, and I talk to people all the time, especially down here. You know, you got to be really careful, like who you talk to and what you wear, and you know your response to them at the deli counter or outside our offices here. You know, you got to be like super careful because these people are just on the edge of shooting you all the time. I
live in Arizona. I know they're allowed to carry out here, so.
Yeah, here too we have stand your ground. I mean, people could say, I felt threatened by your T-shirt, so I shot you in the back and get away with it. You know?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. So you got to be really super careful. But I will say this, I think that people can't wait to vote, and that the Republicans are really, in their own haze right now, and I don't think they're going to show up. I really don't.
I hope not. I got one more gripe I'd like to get in, and that's these reporters and stuff saying that Trump really believes that there was no collusion and everything like that. Come on, man. This guy doesn't believe that. He knows better, man. I'm tired of hearing the reporters say that.
Oh, I haven't heard anybody say that he believes it. I just hear people
they're
saying that
constantly
he says
saying
it.
that.
What?
Yeah. They're constantly saying that he believes that there was no collusion. I'm like, come on, man. Guy doesn't believe it. He knows better.
Of course he knows better. He received dirt from the Russians, and he's also changed the Republican National Committee's platform to, favor Russia. He's also kissed Vladimir Putin's ass on the campaign trail and even after as president. Of course he knows. And he knows, whether or not there is a tape, and he knows whether or not, his son met with Russians, and he knows about Natalia Veselnitskaya. He knows he's on the wrong side of all of this. So he's just trying to, denigrate the people who are trying to hold him accountable.
Yeah, I think he's saying no collusion because actually he hired the people over there to do it, and the Russians just knew about it and let him do it.
No, he's saying no collusion because collusion isn't even a crime, okay?
Right.
He's going to be charged with a RICO Act. He's going to be charged with a conspiracy. I don't know if you can indict a sitting president if the crime is, is the Espionage Act. I think that changes everything.
Yeah, I think, if they go by the intent of the Founding Fathers, reading the Federalist Papers and everything like that, I don't think they intended for the laws to be meant for someone to be able to be the president to get away with crimes like this guy's trying to get away with.
No, I think that they said nobody was above the law and that we were a nation of laws and that, God help us if we ever have a king. I think that they were really, really clued into that. So, but yeah, I mean, I watch, Victoria Tensing and I watch Joe DiGenova, all out there trying to make an argument. Oh, the president cannot be called as a witness against himself. He's not going to be called as a witness against himself. The president says he wants to talk to Mueller. That's what he said. He said he wants a chance to tell his story. This is what he said today, for God's sake. He wants to talk to Mueller.
I would say this. If I could be, I would love to speak.
I would love to speak.
Nobody wants to speak more than me. In fact, against my lawyers, because most lawyers, they never speak on anything. I would love to speak because we've done nothing wrong. There was no collusion with the Russians. There was nothing. There was no obstruction,
Okay, so, he said that this morning. This was him, leaving for Dallas to go to the NRA convention, which is good for him because then he could live inside the fact-free bubble at the NRA convention, which, by the way, is hosting some manufacturers who have ties to Russians. It's an endless loop. It's an endless loop. Laura in Portland.
Hello, Randy. Thank you for having me.
Maine or Oregon?
Oregon.
Oregon. Hi, Oregon.
Yeah. Hey, about this Rudy Giuliani, I think as you get older, it's harder to hide who you truly are. And so he's been able to hide the fact that he's a stupid, evil twit. And now he can't
You know
do
what?
that
Michelle
anymore.
Obama put it so nicely, and it was just a brilliant thing. It was one of those just brilliantly inspired by her reality. And she said that being the president doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are. And, and if you substitute the word power for president, you will understand Rudy Giuliani. Power does not change who you are. It reveals who you are. And he has always been a self-serving bloodsucker.
Right. Who kind of helped 911 or 9/11 with the fact that he wouldn't take the central command out of the tower.
Well, he's an idiot on top of it, and so is Donald Trump. Right. Donald Trump is an idiot, and that's what John Kelly called him, and that's what Rex Tillerson called him. Rex Tillerson said moron, okay?
Moron.
Everybody who has left has privately said to reporters, okay, that this man has no clue. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know the law. He doesn't understand foreign policy. He doesn't understand trade. He doesn't understand anything, that this is a man who ran a small family business, who lied about his success. He had $5 million and managed to convince a Forbes guy he had $100 million. Okay,
Sure.
A guy who bankrupted casino. The only casino owner I've ever seen where the house didn't win.
This is going to get worse before it gets better. I mean, it's going to get a lot worse.
Well, the thing that I worry about is that the Trump supporters, who, as everybody knows, are walking around in a daze and just keep repeating, but Hillary, but Hillary, but Hillary, are going to suddenly wake up one morning where articles of impeachment have been drafted, the proceedings are now going forward, and we're dealing with, a trial in the Senate or whatever it is, or the president resigns or however it plays, and they are going to go to the streets. This is what scares me.
I think so. That's definitely one possibility. Another possibility is that nothing happens, and that this becomes a new normal and democracy.
No, I have too much faith in our nation. We're a young nation. This is the worst we've ever seen in our little, young career. I mean, there are democracies that are thousands of years old. The Greeks, the Italians. There's so many democracies around this world that have figured it all out over thousands of years. We're a very nascent democracy. We're young. We innovate, and we have good, a strong economy, but we're not very good at self-governing. You have too many people out there that go, "You do it for me, you do it for me," while saying, "Pull yourself up from your bootstraps." I mean, these are they're just so bizarre. They're just the craziest people I've ever run into in my life, where they preach this, stay plugged in and pull yourself up from your bootstraps, and you can do it and don't expect any. And then they keep voting for a government that they ignore, that steals from them. Yeah.
But I hope you're right. I absolutely hope you're right. But in the meantime, my oldest is going to college in Canada, going to university there. And I'm very comfortable with that.
Yeah, well, she won't come back. You know that.
I know. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, thank you for your time.
Thanks. Good to talk to you. Ricky in Chicago.
Hi, Randy. I'm a first-time caller. How are you?
Oh, hi.
Hi. I have to say that I was watching some political clip on YouTube maybe about a week ago, and I was reading in the comments, and someone was saying, if you really want to hear the truth, listen to the Randi Rhodes Show. I've listened in for a week, and you're awesome.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad that you had an internet accident. It's what we count on.
And it worked out great. So
that's great.
I just wanted to say that, after seeing the way that President Trump has been handling all of this, and the way that Rudy Giuliani has been handling all of this, it kind of seems like they just don't get that everything they say is somewhere somewhere in the cloud, somewhere archived, and is going to be re-brought up. They just seem like two old men that just can't grasp how modern society is working with technology, and it's to their own detriment. It's almost like putting your grandpa behind the wheel of a Maserati. He's not going to know how to do all of those things. And to me, that's kind of what it looks like, and that is going to be their ultimate downfall, in my opinion.
Well, you got to think of it this way, though, Ricky. I mean, it was technology that made him president. It was the using and abusing Facebook. It was stealing people's identities with this Cambridge Analytica and this British defense contractor app. This Alexander Cohen app that sucked out everybody's information, and they understand technology. I think that they didn't think it all the way. I didn't think that they thought it all the way through, though. I don't think that they saw the longevity of what it was going to
the repercussions of it all.
No, they actually think that their supporters, and I don't know that they're wrong, are dumb. They think that their supporters are dumb as rocks. They're a bunch of hayseeds and hillbillies, rural Americans who, as long as he's sufficiently racist, they will continue to vote for him in the face of any videotape, in the face of any prior statements, lying under oath. It doesn't matter. As long as they stand up and they say Mexicans are rapists and black lives don't matter, blue lives do. As long as they're sufficiently racist and they talk against Muslims and they talk against, this or that, they'll just keep voting for them because they literally treat their supporters like they're dumb as rocks.
And I agree with that, but I think that they are overestimating that. I think that they're not, the young kids are going to come out and vote. I have a feeling that people are eager to vote.
I do
people
too.
People are hungry to go out and vote. And give them the middle finger the only way that they know how. And so they really have a reckoning coming because they're really taking a lot of these things for granted, thinking, my base is going to stay my base. Well, your base, they also have young children, and those young children are about to become legal voting age, and those young children don't always necessarily share the same views as the parents and the people, that are supporting him. So I think they have a big thing coming.
I agree. I think it's going to be, the generation of millennials. I really do. I know that they're anti-gun. They're out there in full force. He's at the NRA today in his little bubble, saying stupid things about knife wounds in London. I don't know. Yeah, no, you're right. Have a great weekend. Support the show. Thank you. Bye, Stinking Podcast.